All right, welcome to the study group. Welcome, Chuck.
Thank you, Derek.
Welcome, Kitty. Welcome, everyone at home. Today, we're going to be talking about where do we go after we die? And here's a great illustration by our friend Gary Tong showing the resurrection halls and the mansion worlds. And maybe, Chuck, you could just kind of start us off with some of the concepts of what society knows about life after death.
Yeah. So I prepared this slide just to kind of give some context for what we're going to be talking about. It's kind of a summary of the existing ideas that we have on the planet right now for the afterlife. And of course, this has always been a huge mystery. Nobody's been there and come back, right, to report on it.
Right.
So teachings have been presented at different times, but then there's also the various theories that come with different religions. So it kind of breaks down into these basic groups. And the one that we're going to be building off of is the idea of resurrection, where the personality, where you as a person continue into another life. You retain your individuality and your consciousness and your memory. And that idea is sort of captured in Christianity, Islam, and even Baha'i to an extent. And then we have reincarnation, which is another idea where you come back here over and over again until you reach a certain state, and then you escape to a higher state. And there's mixed beliefs about these things. And then, of course, then there's also the nothingness belief that death terminates our existence. And that it tends to be associated more with materialist and atheistic views of reality. And then finally, there's other ideas that are maybe more new agey, or like the idea of continuing consciousness maybe, but you lose your individuality. So that's kind of an overview of what currently exists. But as I researched this, one of the things that really stood out for me, one of the things I really noticed, is that all these ideas are about how we maybe get there, if we get there. But there's no real description of what actually happens after we get there, or what the point is, or how we move on forward in the universe. So one of the really striking things about the Urantia Book, I think, is that it presents the idea of a universe career. So it's so important that we survive into the next life, because this is just the beginning of a potentially eternal career, an ascension career. So there's a lot to do once we get off of this planet.
Yeah, that's the exciting thing about this, is that what the Urantia Book brings forward is a whole new curriculum of what we're going to get into, and just there's things where you can see yourself in. You can have foresight of how you might evolve, and what you're learning now might play out in the future, and things like that. So it's the most tangible, descriptive afterlife that I've ever been around.
Yeah. So that's a key point, I think. And that's why we're so kind of fascinated with this, because it's the best story, whether you believe the Urantia Book is real or not, or whatever you think about it. It contains this vision of what the next life is going to be like that's so much better than any other I've ever seen, that I want it to be true.
Yeah. It's something you can get behind and get excited about. Yeah.
I hope it's like this.
Right.
If I was designing the universe, I'd want it to be at least this good. So we have this gift of this presentation of a very thorough and fascinating, rendering of what we're going to be, how we're going to be engaged with reality beyond this life. So I think it's a gift, and it's worth exploring.
Yeah, and Jesus did make mention to this stuff in the Bible. Even has record of my Father has many mansions. Mm-hmm. This is not my only flock. Also, where he talks about.
Yeah.
So let me just get into this first slide.
Sure.
So in the Urantia Book, we have in paper 47, the Creator's Son went on Urantia, which is Jesus. The Creator's Son went on Urantia, spoke of the many mansions in his Father's universe, like we just talked about, which shows up in the Bible, Book of John, perhaps, right?
Yeah, that's Book of John.
And then in paper 133, when he's making his travels in the Mediterranean, he's coming across a lot of people he's doing ministry with and whatnot. He comes across to the Greek contractor and builder, which he said, "Do not let your achievement as a temporal builder outrun your attainment as a spiritual son of the kingdom of heaven. While you build the mansions of time for another, neglect not to secure your title to the mansions of eternity for yourself. Ever remember, there is a city whose foundations are righteousness and truth, and whose builder and maker is God."
Yeah, Jesus had a beautiful way of with metaphors, taking real life circumstances and reflecting them into their higher form.
Yeah.
So he's talking about these mansions, they're referred to as the mansion worlds, where we pick up our lives, when we leave here. So he's just reminding this builder to be sure to prepare himself spiritually for that. That's we leave our physical body behind. So we're looking forward to a higher life in the spirit, and to prepare for that.
Yeah.
Is one of the important things.
And with these quotes, we're building, so it's not like we're just going to dump it all right now. But this starts to reflect on some of our past podcasts where we're talking about lay your treasures up in heaven, and some of his teachings, that the parables that actually hint at building your soul and what that really means, so that when you are in the next stage, there's more to work with.
Yeah, give some focus to righteousness and truth. Make that part of who you are and what you are. And that can be taken forward. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me go to the next one here. So this is when all of us are kind of waking up in the next life. Some of you might have loved ones, or whoever has passed away. This might be their experience and our experience. So it's kind of cool. The real and conscious reassembly of actual and complete personality takes place in the resurrection halls of Mansonia number 1. Throughout all eternity, you will recall the profound memory impressions of your first witnessing of these resurrection mornings. And I almost want to go back to this image of Gary with what it looks like of these resurrection halls in the resurrection morning. And it's a great illustration here, because this is like that first big, this is the movie. This is what we've all been waiting for. We've been hoping for, and now we got to get to be reassembled here. Let me continue. It is indeed an epoch in the career of an ascending mortal, us, this first awakening on the shores of the mansion world. There, for the first time, actually to see your long-loved and ever-present angelic companions of earth days. So all the loved ones who've been supporting us, the unseen support that we've been
unseen
given.
Friends,
we finally get to see.
Yes.
Oh, hallelujah, what a blessing.
And
then you also have time to gratify your desire to consult a registry and call upon your loved ones and other earth friends who may have preceded you to these worlds. So that's that's beautiful that we get to see our loved ones again like that.
That's what everyone hopes for.
Yeah.
And wants to experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fear not, you will see your loved ones again if this is how you want to live your life and in accordance to these teachings. I personally choose to believe that, because I've had some pretty profound experience with loved ones that go beyond this material.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then our unseen friends, that's also a very big deal, because we, according to this information, we're being watched over, by guardian angels and all kinds of celestial beings who care for us and love us deeply, but we don't have a direct way to experience them or communicate with them. But that'll change on the next world. There'll be our visible companions. So we'll have this wonderful, coaching kind of experience from those who know us already very well, from having been with us during this life.
And the reason why they know you so well is they can see you while you haven't been seeing them. So, you might be a little embarrassed when it comes down. No, I'm just playing. But it is nice to know that we've had support this whole time.
Right.
Can you imagine helping someone along their way where they can't even see you? It's like you're a parent, Chuck. You've raised children. But they saw you the whole time.
Yeah.
Here, these beings have supported our spiritual development. We've never even got to make eye contact with them, and now they show themselves.
Yeah.
I feel like that's that selfless service pattern in the cosmos of what it is. You're doing good for good's sake, not for the recognition.
Right. And they also keep records of our life. Which, we'll no doubt be reviewing some of that.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me go on to this last slide here for me.
Okay.
The morontia realms, so where we're going after this, the mansion worlds it's part of this morontia existence. The morontia realms are the local universe liaison spheres between the material and spiritual levels of creature existence. From time to time, this transition state has been taught to mortals, and the concept, in distorted form, has found a place in present-day religions.
Right. Even just like in my father's house or many mansions. That's
right.
an example of what they're talking about. But in some other religions,
sure,
too.
Definitely like Hinduism and other ones.
Yeah.
All of these worlds are architectural spheres, meaning they're created.
Right.
And they have just double the number of elements of the evolved planets. So double of the elements that we have in our table here. Such made-to-order worlds not only abound in the heavy metals and crystals, having 100 physical elements, but likewise have exactly 100 forms of a unique energy organization called morontia material.
So when we get to this next world, we're going to be introduced to some new kinds of reality, and we'll have a body and a mind that's in the senses with the capability to perceive these higher types of materials. So that's kind of an exciting thing too. So one of the things that's sort of implied in that second paragraph is the idea that there's two kinds of spheres, you might say, astronomically in the universe. There's the worlds like the one we're living on that's generated from a sun, through various solar and astronomic processes, it heats and cools and evolves and eventually maybe can support life. In addition to these evolutionary worlds, then there are also what they call architectural spheres. And these are spheres that are designed and built for the specific purpose that they serve. So these are very different kinds of worlds, but they're still physical. So the book points out that all life in the universe takes place on physical worlds. But when we get to these higher spheres, there's added dimensions to that.
Yeah.
But they're real worlds that are actually built for the purpose, like in this case, for us to land on, pick up our lives, but in a higher realm of possibilities. We're not limited by our physical nature the way we are here. We'll have a new type of body. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you want to read this next slide first?
Sure enough. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at what we do when we get to the next world. And we've got, a couple slides for this. And this is just a basic introduction. There's a lot more to it, but this will at least give an idea that we're not just sitting around on harps, on the clouds playing harps or something. Right. It's very real and very specific.
Okay.
So in this slide here, they tell us you will resume your intellectual training and spiritual development at the exact level whereon they were interrupted by death. Between the time of planetary death and resurrection on the mansion world, mortal man gains nothing, absolutely nothing, aside from experiencing the fact of survival, which is kind of a big deal, but we don't automatically become more talented or perfect or anything like that. You begin over there right where you leave off down here. And then just to drive the point home, they say almost the entire experience of Mansion World number 1 pertains to deficiency ministry. The major activities of the realm are occupied with the correction and cure of these manifold legacies of the life in the flesh. So there's a lot of interesting aspects to this, but they do put it in terms they're sort of hinting that our universe career involves a lot of training, that we have to grow in our abilities, and that we also have to develop spiritually in order to carry on and explore the potentials that are being offered in the next life and beyond. So this is kind of exciting. I like the fact that they frame it that way. And that part of this training from the very beginning means that we get to leave behind the legacies that might be dragging along from our experiences on this world.
Yeah.
We all
the trauma.
The trauma, everything. Yeah. Right.
And our vestigial traits.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, all our doubts and fears, everything. I mean, we're in an animal body. I mean, imagine that.
Yes.
We're spiritual beings in an animal body, evolved, the product of millennia of evolution. So it's a wonderful thing that we have this ability to know God, even in a physical body, but that's only on this world.
And it's not easy.
Yeah, right. It's not easy. Yeah. Our circuitry, everything about us, is not really, I mean, it's not that it's not possible, but we can't fulfill it to the extent that we'll be able to later.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, man. Let's get this next one.
This next slide continues along those lines a little bit, where they tell us that one of the purposes of the morontia career, now again, they're bringing up the idea of a career. So this is projecting far into the future. One of the purposes of the morontia career is to effect the permanent eradication from the mortal survivors of such animal vestigial traits as procrastination, equivocation, insincerity, problem avoidance, unfairness, and ease-seeking.
Oh, man. Good thing we don't have to deal with that until later.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how to deal with all that right now.
We're all too familiar with those things. But we can all recognize how those hold us back.
Oh, yeah.
So
I can recognize how it's holding me back.
Yeah. So we have the opportunity to leave all that. And they refer to those as animal vestigial traits. Again, they're kind of part of our animal evolutionary nature, physical nature. And then they say that as we proceed in this, path, if we go down this path, you're becoming more and more adorable. I think that's funny. You're becoming more and more adorable as you leave behind the coarse vestiges of planetary animal origin. Coming up through great tribulation serves to make glorified mortals very kind and understanding, very sympathetic and tolerant.
I love that last quote.
Yeah, me too.
That's just what I always think about this life experience being, and so whenever I'm on the phone with someone who's got challenges or whatever, I remember that always. It's like, okay, yeah. If I'm progressing, I'm going that direction of more kind, tolerant, understanding, sympathetic.
Yeah. Well, and even in this life, people we know and meet who maybe been through a lot of hard times, they do tend to be more compassionate and sympathetic. And that's sort of the compensation for difficulty, is it brings out those qualities in us.
Yeah, it can. If there's been shown some potential. Because if you're just abused from the beginning, it's really hard to become kind all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're so lacking. And that's what these mansion worlds are for.
Yeah.
So you can get through some of that lacking stuff that we've had to deal with down here. But I will say, if there is just a glimpse or the faintest flicker of hope in a new way or a higher way, and your heart can connect to that, then you can transcend and alchemize all of that pain and challenges that you've gone through into being quite the understanding and compassionate individual for another one.
Well, that's why it's so important to have a reality frame that includes God as a loving parental deity, and also the promise and the hope of higher existence.
Yeah.
And if you can begin to feel that even during this life, then it reframes your problems and your struggles to where you begin to see them more as a challenge to reach higher rather than something to just feel bitter and depressed about.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I feel like there's two movies that are going on. There's one movie that you can turn on the TV and pay Hollywood a ton of money to watch. And then there's the inner movie that's going on where your thought adjuster is flashing you picturizations of your destiny. And that conviction of truth in your heart that you can grab on and become the director of that film and really turn it into something that then I think really maximizes our afterlife experience as well.
It does, indeed. Yeah, well said. So that's that's kind of the promise that's in all of this.
Nice. Okay, let's see this next one.
Here we go. So then they tell us, and I like this a lot too. They say that those things which you so earnestly longed to do on earth in which circumstances so persistently denied you, and the circumstances can be just the short duration of this lifetime, if, after acquiring true insight in the morontia career, you still desire to do, then will you most certainly be granted every opportunity fully to satisfy your long-cherished desires.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have the Spirit of God within us that's urging us and giving us, like you're saying, these picturizations of destiny. We have feelings about our potential that we haven't been fully, or we're not going to ever fully realize in this life. So it's really, I like the idea that, yeah, that's cool because we can continue in the next life.
Yeah, and it makes me think of like, how long can you hold this goal in mind?
Yeah.
How long can you keep this picturization of destiny and focus in your mind as a goal that you will manifest it. You will actualize this. And if it doesn't happen now, it's going to happen. Just hold it.
Yeah. Or even if you're like an artist or a musician, they have the celestial artisans that you can join up with, and you can just continue to develop your,
that's exciting.
Those kind of abilities as well. Or maybe it's oratory. Maybe it's anything. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah. Probably more than what we even know here.
Oh, yeah. And it's way beyond anything we can quite imagine, but still. So, and then finally, to cap this off, I like this comment they make where they say, as we go through our ascending career, they say it's beginning to dawn upon the enlarging minds of the ascending mortals that some stupendous and magnificent, some supernal and divine destiny awaits all who complete the progressive paradise ascension. So they're pointing well, we did that show about eternal destiny, and they're kind of pointing to that here, that we have potentials locked up within us that we don't even know yet. We haven't even begun to realize. And that those are part of the Spirit of God within us knows about all that and is holding all of that.
Yeah, it's like spiritual epigenetics.
Kind of like that.
And if you don't put your soul in a place of opportunity for new, where it might feel like challenge or testing or whatever it is, but you've got to get into the new in order to discover yourself more. Right.
Well, there's obviously a huge universe out there, but it's ever looked up at the stars, like if driving across Nevada, or something like that, where you can really get a good view of the stars. It's just like crazy. I mean, reality that we're in is just enormous, vast. And what they're telling us here is we have the opportunity to explore that. We're going to become part of that. We're going to work through and travel and experience and serve in all kinds of cool, crazy ways throughout the universe as we go forward in our eternal future.
Right on. Well, get your tickets.
Yeah, get your ticket to ride.
Get ready. This isn't for popcorn and pop and watching. You're going to get involved.
Yeah.
So get ready. Get your hands dirty, guys.
You have to get your feet muddy.
Yeah. All right. Well done, Chuck.
All right.
Thanks.
Sure.
Thanks, everyone at home. If you got any comments or any suggestions for a podcast, let us know. We're going to keep going with some of this afterlife stuff. We got some more things, and then maybe we'll get into some more of the heroes of the history of Urantia Book too.
Yeah, we got a lot of things in mind.
Yeah. So good stuff coming up. Stay tuned, and God bless as always.
Thanks for joining us.